Hello and happy Saturday, Free Enterprise fans. We're back with another broadcast of the Eblan Elixir League. The potion party got started this past Tuesday. It amped up last night, and we are continuing the energy into this afternoon. I hope y'all are doing great today. I am Y2 Sky, and seated to my left is Leggy Starstream. Leggy, how are you today?
Well, I am just blown away by CS Radical's character names. I completely got distracted by everything else, trying to figure out how to make a good Steiner math joke to open up. I don't have it tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Like I said before we got started, I don't see how we can kind of. It's going to be difficult to top the energy that we had last night, but given the caliber of the runners that I see sitting in front of us, I think we got a pretty good shot at it. Plumerian Knight, one of our stalwart veterans, vast knowledge of the game, a lot of skill, really thinks on his feet during his runs. Saradin No Slouch either has made some good tournament runs, and CS Radical and Mr. RPG, some of our up-and-coming runners. I didn't think I could be more excited after last night, but I got to tell you, I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah, no. I'm sure all four of these runners are going to put on an incredible race, especially with this really interesting set of objectives we've got going on. Obviously, we have our standard 5 of defeat the king and queen at the town of monsters, complete Cave Bahamut and the Masamune altar on the moon, forge the legend sword with adamant. But our 3 random objectives today are cure the freebird with the sand ruby, trade away the rat tail, and launch the falcon. In this particular flag set, because the magma key is always going to be our logical way underground, that hook has kind of been a little scarce recently, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not our runners today are going to be able to find that early or late to get those last 2 objectives, or if they're going to be completing any of the other pairs going on. Lots of pairs of objectives going on here.
Yeah, a lot of pairs for sure. And when you end up with pairs, you've got a lot of different routes. Things are a little clearer when you've got a group of 3 that's hard required. But the hook is going to be the fulcrum on which the routing ways can tip. If the hook is playing scarce, you do have options. If you can find that sand ruby and the forge pieces. But then if you have a rude boss at, say, the Leviathan or the Masamune spot, you're really going to want that hook to be able to veto one of those fights.
Yeah. Of course, we haven't even had time to talk about our hero, and our runners are already off. Who's going to be joining our tiny, adorable white mage? It's going to be an old man, and we're just getting a shield. So that's basically a whammy of a start. Though the old man does provide some interesting utility for early routing with that access to that exit spell.
Yeah, it definitely speeds up some of the early looting. Watery Pass looks a little bit more attractive. You can shave some seconds off of the Eblan Castle dives. But really, it's not going to be about the starting item. It's going to be about the shops. With a Forum hero, you've got some options. If you can find the Heron Robe or a Samurai Bow or an Arty Bow, Tella, you find a Stardust Rod, he suddenly becomes infinitely more useful. So we'll see what our runner can come up with.
Yeah, looks like Saradin is going straight into Watery Pass. Our 2 runners on the top side, both immediately looting Baron. CS Radical giving us a look at the 2 monks sharing a drink in the inn, while Plumerian Knight is taking a very first look at the boss of the waterfall. I believe that's Ashura.
Yep, so that takes that out of the boss pool. I really like what CS Radical and Mr. JRPG are doing. Baron doesn't have a lot in terms of your treasure curve for the money, but it gives you a lot of intel as far as that first item shop and what your possible 3rd character might be. So now you kind of know, okay, Yang is in the seed, Yang might be an early pickup, so now I might route looking for cat claws in my first shopping round, for example.
Yeah. I do appreciate CS Radical heading on up immediately after checking Baron, checking the boss at the Mist Cave. There are no boss hunts in this flag set except for D-Mist, who still holds a key item because we have no free key item turned on. Finds nothing but the Magus Sisters there, so neither of those two early out-of-the-way boss checks are really going to have anything of value. As CS Radical loots out the rest of Mist, Plumeria Knight launches the hovercraft as Saradin is running around Kaipo. I didn't see if Saradin has found anything interesting in the shops.
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything yet. I like Plumeria Knight's routing here, taking the hovercraft all the way back around to the front of Watery Pass.
No, we got heroine robes for sale in Mist. So that is a great pickup for CS Radical. That's going to turn Porum into the bit of early game damage that we really need her to be right now. Mr. JRPG is also finding them, taking a little bit to decide. I don't blame him. Whether or not I want to pick up those extra black belts is also a consideration in my head. But looks to be electing to check out the weapon shop before deciding to commit to any purchases.
Yeah, no bow yet, but I do see some poison arrows. Murasame there if we find an edge. Otherwise, not a whole lot.
Yeah, the Charmed Claw is interesting for that Yang we've seen. Provides a little bit of utility, but definitely not the Cat Claw, and definitely not the Thunder Claw.
Speaking of edge, was that who I peeked in the Kaipo bed over on Plumeria Knight's side?
I
caught a glimpse of some blue pixels.
Yeah, no, that's always tricky because it could be edge. If it's a helmet, it could be Kate or Cecil, and I have trouble telling them apart. But Sardin is going to be the first one to actually have a new character join his party. That is the other twin. We have a Palub, and we have an Antlion.
Oh, and Saradin big bonus points in my book for a certain critically acclaimed MMORPG naming scheme. Alisei and Alpha Node here about to work some twin magic.
I've heard that free trial goes up to level 60, but there's something about it now, including the less award-winning expansion Stormblood now? I'd have to double check. I'm really only doing the deep dungeons these days.
Yeah, it does. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, though.
Too much action.
Too much action, yes. And speaking of rabbit holes, Potion Party can definitely have some, especially if we don't find that book. So looks like we have Saradin. Another thing with that Tella exit opens up the ability to check out these ops chests, and I have found a pretty good amount of money, although they're pretty. Oh wow, they're sparse here, only 2,200. Yeah,
we have CS Radical looting the open Toroya treasury, probably going to loop that into a shopping check. Not a super amount of payoff, though, the old man casting exit out of here does make this turnaround relatively straightforward, but it looks like Plumeria Knight's going to be our first runner to actually start pushing for Kian. Never mind, Saradin's already in Outlion Cave.
Yeah, Mr. RPG's just found our Stardust rods.
Where were they?
Still trying to see which shop that actually is. I can just see a old man with a red robe.
Mm-hmm. So we've got Mylon and friends down here in Antlion Cave. Saradin has the Stardust Rod, so this is going to end very quickly. Looks like they were for sale in Kaipo.
Yes, our restreamer Xenocat with the assist there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Looks like all of our runners have found the Stardust Rod. So this actually begs an interesting question. You're one of these runners, you've got your old man Tella, but you've also got the Palub. Obviously, eventually that Stardust Rod is going to make its way onto Palub. Do you go buy a second one? I think with the money you're about to get, the answer is yes.
Yeah, that makes the Earth Crystal Treasury money will make those choices a lot easier. I tend to not worry about that so much, even if I power up that Tella. His base stats still aren't at the point where I'm worrying about him casting stuff too much. But yeah, it's kind of almost a moot point because we're gonna need to find stuff to spend that money on with the Earth Crystal.
Yeah. Especially because, well, looks like Sardin has decided to answer more in the affirmative on whether or not you pick up another Stardust Rod.
Yep, and speaking of things to spend money on, CS Radical found white robes in Silvera, so that's actually a good swap for Porum. If you have a Hero Porum or Hero Rosa late game and you're wanting more of a slow anchor, switching from a heroine robe to a white robe is going to kind of make that shift from damage dealer to support, and also kind of put your agility where you want it for those late game fights. So I could see our runners picking that up later in the game.
Yeah, with the way these flag sets play out a lot of the time, when you do have one of the white mage women in your hero spot, I do find that transition happens from being, an archer into going to pure support mage, just because with the way that the scale of power works in this game and how much experience points you typically get over the course of a seed, you get into situations where you're trying to do some of those, Feymarch royalty checks or the moon checks, and you just really, really need that extra healing.
Yeah, as with a lot of free enterprise races, you're gonna see runners kind of just they're gonna have a early game plan, and then at some point in the mid game, you're gonna flip the switch and kind of go into your late game mode, where you're taking some of the harder spots and some of the faster spots in the game. And Potion Party kind of really exemplifies that, because other than really an Edge who you can pretty much ride through the whole seed, you're going to end up with, okay, Forum's got a Heroine Robe, Palom's got a Stardust Rod. Later on, you may find a Cecil, you may find an Edge, and you're going to want to switch to more of the Berserker strategies. So yeah, runners, you're figuring out where and when to hit that switch is really the crux of putting together a solid Potion Party run.
Yeah, and speaking of solid Potion Party runs, we've got Plumeria Knight checking out Fabul, finding Artemis arrows for sale. We've got Sardin going up the Mountain of Ordeals, finding back-to-back Fiends of the Elements here. I do like this play. Because you have the old man in your party, it means you'll have access to the work glitch even if you don't get the levels on the Palom. It also means that the old man will have access to the whole suite of his utility and occasionally even his offensive magic.
Yeah, it can be a big help in the early game, especially because of the no dupes flag. A lot of times you can end up with only 2 and 3 characters pretty deep into the seed. Unfortunately, that back attack can also is really rough with this party. And Saradin wisely heeding the advice of the meme, just walk out, you can leave.
Yeah, but Plumeria Knight getting paid right now. That is a hook. That is a free character check. That is some really good loot boxes and an extra shop. That is also access to an objective and half of another one.
Indeed. So there it is. So our key item, our key item, hook is early in this game. So yeah, you're gonna see some interesting plays depending on the bosses that are actually down there. I have seen runners on this flag set, even though it's Force Magma, I've seen runners take that hook route rather than continue to look through Eblan Castle or even like the Doggo chest in Zod for that Magma key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on how deep of a rabbit hole you're looking at, and also how much character power you have. Even if the Magma key is always going to be the logical way underground, the hook is still a way underground at the end of the day.
It definitely is. A little bit more difficult to pull off with this particular party. You really want a Berserker to be able to chew through the 25k XP that's at the Rubicante spot. But again, Cecil could be there, Edge could be there. A lot of strong options, and we've seen Hanzo steal in the shops already.
Yeah. I personally a fan of getting the character checks, especially because there are only 7 characters total in these flag sets. So with the combination of that and the lack of duplicate characters, you want to do as many checks as you can to make sure that you fill out your party as best as possible, because, if you're only running 3 or 4 characters, that's one less action per round. ATB is weird. Don't think about that one too deeply.
Yeah, and you mentioned finding characters and filling out your party. The E no XP flag plays a lot into this too, because you want to maximize the XP that your party members are getting, and so characters found late are difficult to kind of bring online, unless you have something kind of waiting in the wings. You have 10 key items. You have a slingshot situation that you can take advantage of. Otherwise, yeah, you want to build a 3 to 4 character party before you really start looking at those high XP spots.
Yeah. And additionally, something our runners might want to consider is that even if they aren't going down and completing the full hook route, there are still the 2 monster boxes down in there. You have the 2 stale men, and you also have the 4 mad ogres, which, I'm kind of okay at math, and I'm pretty sure that 4 mad ogres is worth more XP than the 3 mad ogres in Castle Eblan. Can someone verify for that, me in chat?
All right, while you wait on your math verification, we're watching Plumeria Knight try to take on this Kainatsu, trying to take advantage of some run buffering, bluff that Palom up. Plumeria Knight, again, one of our Sage runners. Let's see how he handles this. This is a difficult situation here.
Yeah, good use of the Thor Rages that our starter kits provide.
And this time waiting to queue up a Bluff Lit 2 on Palom, so I like the rotation here. Get the damage in and stave off the waves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some really, really sick timing. Making sure to delay the action long enough for the ATB to tick over so that the Lit 2 is queued up right after the punch comes out, giving it enough time to run through its casting time by the time the Gathering the Water comes out, not letting Kainazo get a wave off, and goes down.
Yeah, masterfully done. Plumeria Knight was pretty much in the clear when that first one landed for 1700, and this was finished the job. Very well executed.
Yeah, that was masterful.
Let's see if CS Radical can duplicate the feat. Different approach here, going for that Berserk. Unfortunately, Heroine Robe and correct me if I'm wrong, may have an Artemis Spell on there too. Not too sure. But yeah, if you have that combination on there, Forum does need a few more levels to be able to hit that Berserk, due to the way the stats work.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate interaction, but luckily not too much of a time loss. We'll just have to let Porum snipe things in a more traditional manner.
Yeah, she'll get plenty of turns with that configuration. Getting 2, maybe 3 shots off before a wave here might be good enough. It's gonna come close to what Plumeria Knight did with the Bluff Lit 2.
Yeah. In the meantime, back on Plumeria Knight's side of the screen, we're finding out that we're dealing with the finest of the flavors today. We have our vanilla Dark Knight Cecil here inside the altar on top of the mountain.
And as a runner, this is absolutely the best place you want to see this DKC in the vanilla spot, because that takes him out of play at everyone's favorite spot, the Masamune altar, but also Leviathan and Bahamut.
Yeah, no, that is check another box off the list of terrifying spots that we no longer have to worry about. Seeing the Kanazo also here on the mountain is also really nice because the turtle can be nasty if he wants to be.
Yeah, we've already checked a lot of potentially rude bosses and late game spots off the table. The Magus Sisters also in Mist Cave. The runners aren't going to have to deal with those either. Magus Sisters can be pretty brutal in the right spot too. So
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how what we end up with on the when we do get to the Fame March and Moon spots.
yeah. The thing that's on in the back of my head right now, if I'm one of these runners, is we've only seen one Lunar Sparkle so far, and it was Pale Dim, which, as far as Lunar Sparkles go, Pale Dim is definitely one of my favorite to see, generally.
Yeah, Wyvern can be a little bit of fun depending on what we roll for Witchburn.
Looks like power shirts for sale down here in the Cave of Blana. Let's see what we got in the weapon shop. Life staves. And elven bows.
Oh, that's a good pickup for Mr. JRPG. Still rocking the short bow there. Yeah, what the character that's at this hook is going to really kind of steer the character development direction here. Are we going to have to stick with the archer / mage paradigm, or are we going to be able to shift into something a little bit more balanced or more melee oriented?
Yeah. As Mr. JRPG unfortunately is getting beat up by Staleman, we do have Sardin, who decided to take a trek back to the Baron Inn and got a key for his trouble, along with his punch mage. That's right, Sardin is going to be our first runner with underground access. That doesn't involve killing two bosses that are probably way more terrifying than we want them to be right now.
Indeed, and depending on where that darkness crystal might show up, Saradan could either have a pretty straightforward path or an oh my goodness, everything is over path.
Yeah, Mr. JRPG, hanging on by a thread against these Stalemen. That's like 4 or 5 misses in a row, and the first one goes down. Can this Berserk... No, this Berserk Forum cannot survive, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're not quite there. I mean, the Heroine Robe and the Arty Arrows, they're both strong, but it's still not quite the total package you need with this party to really kind of start taking fights above your station. You really want a glass hat to complete the ensemble. Maybe a protector, a crystal ring, something to kind of you're not quite over the top yet. Heroine Robe's great, but you have to put together an ensemble to make a mage party work in this situation, especially with Daleman.
Yeah, CS Radical doing the Baron in check, going to get paid with the Magma Key. Plumerian Knight doing a cheeky Zot dive, looking for the Flame Dog chest. We don't know what's in there at this time. This could be huge. This could also be a whammy.
With early Earth Crystal, I absolutely go here. You've got 2 key item checks because you have access to the regular Earth Crystal check plus 2 characters. So yeah. when we're trying to as I mentioned, just complete the ensemble, the character checks are really where you want to be.
That's a paladin. Well, not yet, but
that is a potential paladin. Did we find Holy Swords yet? I didn't see Holy Swords yet.
Well, there's still a number of shops to check out as we welcome everyone's friend Cecil into Mr. JRPG's party. Plumerian Knight is still just now finding the Flame Dog chest. We'll see if this is going to be a full Zot clear. For me personally, I'm a little worried about this party's ability to handle the bosses at the top of tower, or at least I was until I saw poor him shooting for nearly 1800.
Yeah, I think Plumeria Knight's got a pretty good setup here. Also able to kind of work with that Palom, get him fluffed up when needed. Like it really depends on what's at this high HP spot here.
And which characters are behind it as well. But let's see who the boss is. One blue robe. That is a gauntlet.
Yeah, Plumeria Knight, I think. This may be just a reconfiguration. I was going to say I think Plumeria Knight's just going to hit the bricks, but I think this is just a okay. Let's reconfigure the party a little bit, and we got this.
Yeah. We have CS Radical dropping the magma key. We have Sardin finding the Staleman chest. We have Mr. JRPG going, I want my Cecil to be the holiest of holy men. And we have Plumeria dealing with slime.
Yep, dealing with slime indeed. Left the Assassin Dagger on the Palom. Hopefully that doesn't cause too many issues with magic power. It doesn't seem, not for slimes, but
yeah,
we'll see in the later encounters. You can't really take the Assassin Dagger off against the Gauntlet because then you're going into the other 4 battles with 5 less agility.
Yeah, looks like against the Epee girls, opened up with a bluff to try and counteract the magic drop that the Assassin Dagger offers. Goes for a twin cast of Flare.
Looked a little underpowered from where I was sitting too. It may have ended up using Palom's Wisdom stat. That can be a little tricky to figure out, especially since you have so much ability manipulating gear on both twins.
But I believe that's 2 fights of the Gauntlet down, as Mr. JRPG goes back into battle against a turtle. As Sardin pulls a Luca key out of the Staleman chest in Eblan Cave, and I did not see what CS Radical got out of the Feymarch freebie.
Looking at the tracking board, looks like a pan.
Ooh. That's always really nice to see. You're finally underground, you pull the pan out of the chest, and you're like, oh, thank God I didn't go talk to the sylphs yet.
Yeah, when you're in the situation where you have the hook that's contributing to 2 objectives, you really want to try to you want to be able to see if you can quickly find the other ones, find that rat tail, find that stand ruby, find anything else to kind of put you in go mode. Spiking the pan and kind of opening up more freebies is a good spot to be in. And there's an X-Cal in the Feymarch shop, so we have located at least 1 Holy Sword.
Yeah, sadly, CS Radical has not done the hook route yet, does not know about the Cecil, so he is not going to immediately drop everything and pick up the very expensive Holy Sword.
Yeah, not really much of a problem right now with where CS Radical is, though. Party's still not fully fleshed out. This is a recon mission here to the Feymarch. We're taking some quick peeks, and then we're gonna know about, and we're gonna make some more checks. Oh
yeah. But knowing where that Excalibur is going to pay off for later.
And chat pointing out, Baigan and Octomom are both in the Feymarch, and Jay Brunter, you're spot on. You want moon veils for that Feymarch.
Yep. Sardin giving us a look at the dwarf shops. That's a Masa. Didn't see anything else in the weapon shop. Sorcerer robes for sale.
Nice cheap way to put your get some defense and some magic power on your masters.
Mr. JRPG is 1 shot away from being our first runner with a Holy Man.
Meanwhile, Plumeria Knight's still working through this gauntlet. I think may have gotten through the last fight. Oh, I think this is fight number 5. Form at 172. Yeah, this is smart. Burn the hourglass. Do not take any chances on losing your progress.
Yeah, like this has been a long fight for Pluvaria, which, it's a gauntlet that is unfortunately to be expected. But this hopefully should be the last one.
Yeah, this is fight 5. I'm really hoping for Plumeria's sake this pans out either with 2 usable characters or with an objective key item. Yeah, otherwise, yeah. But
I'll take any 2 of the 3. Like, if I'm Plumeria and I get, even 1 character who I can add to my party and a reasonable key item, you know what? Probably worth it at this point.
And CS Radical, being a man of the people, has validated our seed for us. Boy, the job was right there in my brain, and then it slipped out. It's probably because I saw a crystal sword. That whenever I see a shiny crystal sword like that, I go, ooh. Plumeria Knight sees an edge and a Moon Sparkle at the Golbez spot. So edge is good. That means we have access to both Cecil and edge in our seed. That's about the best party comp you can get for this end game.
Yeah. And that's 6 of our 7 characters. We shall see if we find another one. It's a Jumpy Boy, it's a Dragoon, it's Kane! So that is everyone who is going to be showing up in the seed. We here in the commentary booth and you at home now know who's going to show up.
Yeah, Kane showing up for Plumeria makes it interesting. Because now if you start to invest some of the XP and oh wow, look at this vanilla Val.
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just the vanilla Val right there is just ironic and very spicy.
Right?
So this puts Plumeria in an interesting spot. He has not seen the Cecil yet, I don't think. And you can invest a fair amount of both your money that you find and your XP from fights into Kane, only to have the Cecil show up later in your run, depending on how you end up routing. So it'll be interesting to see if we find some stuff like a defense sword or a white spear being bought. If we start taking some of the if we start taking Dwarf Castle or the Warrior's Chest or the Silk Chest, and taking on some of those high XP spots, and they go to Kane, but then you find the Cecil later. Ooh.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, especially because with S Wild, you have it in the back of your head that you can find crystal swords and shops. So, there's always that question in the back of your mind when you haven't seen all 7 characters yet of, oh god, did my opponent find, a Cecil that I haven't yet? Did they buy a crystal sword? Are they just clearing through fights that I do not feel comfortable addressing yet?
And oh boy, we were talking about key items to pay off for Plumeria Knight. That's the Darkness Crystal.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, that just catapulted Plumeria Knight to the front as far as runner standing here. But yeah, and Ribbon Quest also makes another good point in chat. No Z fight boost, and this conversation is about Rydia, but also no Z fight boosts the value of Kane too. A Kane, a well-geared Kane swinging for 1700 to 2100 is very valuable at the Bahamut and Masamune spots. Less so for Z, but we're not worried about Z in this black set. So yeah, I think if you make that investment into Kane, I don't think it puts you in a bad spot. If you're competing with your opponent for like seconds or a minute or two, it could become a problem. But yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about this black set is just those little things like that really do show up at the end of runs, and it's people talk about the variances in routing and what that can do. Someone can finish 20 minutes ahead of somebody because they found a key item. A lot of times you see those balanced out, and it really comes down to the little things like did you pick Kane versus a Cecil? How well did you execute at that Leviathan spot? That's the beautiful thing about the black set to me.
Yeah, and also just like even, the key item checks still also have, there are also some, minor checks that you can do to give yourself the edge in some places. For instance, Saradin turned in the pan and got a moon veil, which, if we flash back 15 minutes, we were talking about the Feymarch fights. That basically makes one of those extremely doable much earlier than you would have otherwise expected.
Yeah, Baigan at the Leviathan spot pretty much becomes free-ish if you have a Moon Veil and you have a good damage dealer. Which Eblan, looking like it's doing that. I think Eblan Castle, we saw cough up an Avenger.
Yeah, which, on a cane is, basically good enough by itself. You give Kane, the giant sword and that makes him angry. And he's good to go for most of the seed.
Yeah, and if you are able to, if you know the fights and you're able to go into the fights with that Avenger, the +10 agility on an already fast Kane can make him fast even with the faster heroes like even Edge and Edward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now we've got, now that we've got enough information, we've got all of our runners kind of scattered to the four winds, going over a lot of ground that we've already covered. How are you feeling about this seed in general? Like, we haven't seen much of the underground checks from our runners yet. There have been a lot of key items, but not necessarily a lot of required ones yet. Though this Darkness Crystal from Plumeria is going to be really interesting. Mr. JRPG is hot on his heels going through Zot, probably with the intention to full clear.
Yeah, Mr. JRPG going up to Zot. I'm interested to see when Saradin or CS Radical might do those checks. I haven't seen CS Radical party recently. But if you look at Saradin's got Cecil, Yang, and the complement of mages. I mean, that's a passable party. That's a great party. When you have a good party, you're less inclined to go up Zot. So that could spell trouble for Saradin if he neglects that check until too late.
On the other hand, given that there's only the 2 objectives on the moon, it is entirely possible that with the way that this seed pans out, Saradin could be in a world where not going up Zot to get that Darkness Crystal pays off, because it just means he gets go mode through all of the other stuff he does.
Yeah, also a good point. It's
Yeah.
sometimes that path can be tougher to see. A lot of these seeds will roll with a third moon objective, and so you play enough of them, you start assuming like, okay, I have to find the Darkness Crystal. I can't complete the seed without finding the Darkness Crystal, without really seeing that, you know what? There's only 2 moon objectives. If my required key items are all on Earth, I do have a shot. That path can be tough to see. You do enough of these seeds, you're like, you start laser focusing on the Darkness Crystal when you after you get your magma key.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the really interesting things about this flag set in particular, is that because of the way the objectives are structured, and because you only need to do 6 of 8 of them, go mode can come up very sneakily quickly. For instance, Plumeria Knight is either a Forge, a Sand Ruby, or a Rat Tail from Go mode. All he needs to do is find that 1 key item, or 2 in the case of Forge, and he's ready to go. So that is also one of the other things that, when you're doing this, you have to keep in the back of your head, is like, okay, I've done all these checks, but there's all these other ones still on the table. Where do I go what haven't I done where my opponent could have gone in and pulled, 3 back-to-back chests out of Castle Eblan if you haven't done that one, for instance. And that could just flip your seed from, oh god, I need to find 3 key items, to, no, I am just literally in go mode right now.
Yeah, your go mode could be in disparate spots too. As much as I've seen multiple runners go get the Cecil, I don't think I've seen anybody check the 4 Mad Ogre chest yet. So
Yeah.
people, so far the runners are leaving it there. We do have CS Radical and Mr. JRPG fighting that gauntlet now, so we're starting to equalize, at least on the top matchup with that Darkness Crystal. Sheridan's not going to be in a bad spot. Key item wise, not so much, but we know that Avenger's in here, so that's going to complete the loadout for Cecil. Or excuse me, for the Warrior of Light.
Yeah, though with Plumeria's skill at this game, as well as his current party power, I would not be surprised if he turns this dive into Cave Eblan into an objective.
Yep, right now looking for that Staleman chest. Let's see, Mr. JRPG is through the gauntlet and getting ready for that Vanilla Val. CS Radical might be right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. CS Radical still got a couple more fights to go, looks like.
Yeah, I believe this is, the 3rd?
I think the 3rd. I can't remember if that's the 4th.
Yeah. Part of the problem I have with the Alt Gauntlet commentary-wise is just the spot determines all 5 fights completely independently of anything else. So memorizing that exact list of what monsters are in which fight of which spot is... Well, no, we already did Ordeals.
Alright, Plumeria is through the Staleman chest. About to get the news there's a Cecil here. Let's see what he does with this.
Well, he's already gone up the mountain, so does not have to worry about going up Mount Ordeals to get the Cecil online.
I don't think there's any weapon investment for Kane, and power shirts are universal, so I could see, yeah, I think Kane's getting dropped here.
I would not be surprised either. But we shall see momentarily as Mr. JRPG is continuing to work his way through the Volvalis fight. Saradin is cleaning up Castle Eblan, and CS Radical is going back down the tower.
Plumeria Knight making an interesting play here, ditching the Tella.
All right. Going for extremely high physical power. So I guess you're what? Your endgame party, but your mages are the Mysidian children.
Yeah, my only concern with that is you are. I don't see an issue with the Paladin. You're diving the hook route. You're going to get the Rubicante XP, your Rubicante spot XP. I'm not super worried about Paladin warp. I am a little concerned with access to float and what that means for the plan for Stealth Cave. I think is the plan still to fade Stealth Cave and hope we stumble onto the objectives otherwise?
I mean, that's my usual go-to. Could also just be a, Plumeria Knight is at 5 key items, has not touched anything in the underground yet, and is going to get hook route XP. Could be a calculated gamble.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, it's going to make those end-game fights fast, especially if you are able to set up like a Trizerg situation. So I don't hate it. I just like
Yeah,
it can really make that stealth cave feel like a slog where you're just trying to check different areas and then secure everybody up.
yeah. Though, as mentioned earlier, Plumeria is exactly one key item from Go mode, so it might just be a calculated gamble that, yeah, I don't need to worry about slogging through Sylph Cave. The odds of me finding the one key item I need before I have to worry about uh, needing to even think about float are high enough. Mr. JRPG pulled the Darkness Crystal. CS Radical is taking on Velvalis. Sardin is climbing the tower.
Okay, so that's going to equalize us on the Darkness Crystal. So that's not really going to become a problem. So now it's going to come down to finding those last few objective key items, and I don't know. It's going to be hard to say execution on the fights because we've got Cecil Gobert set up.
Yeah, like there are a number of different paths to victory here. It's going to be a question of, which one of our runners makes the right checks to find Go mode, and then whether or not they can handle the fights that are required to execute on that Go mode.
All right, Plumeria Knights at the Rubicante spot. We've got some form of guards. The fight plays out vastly differently depending on which they are.
Yeah, I do appreciate Plumeria taking the Avenger off just in case it is these guards.
And it is definitely these guards. This is a tough spot to fight them in because now that boss bit is set, you can't just mute them and swing away.
Yeah, you have to be a little more. You have to be a little more careful about, which abilities you use into them in order to make sure that you aren't proccing too many of their counter spells.
Oof, and Cecil got targeted with the size. All right, good hit to blink up. But yeah, this is a very tough fight. Your usual outs that you're used to on other flag sets, Beano free. Yeah, that everybody talks about the DKCs at Masa. This is one of the trickier ones that Beano free gives us is these Baron guards. Just all your outs against them are gone.
Yeah. On the other half of the screen, we had CS Radical giving us a look at the Baron weapon and armor shop. Nothing too exciting there. Seems to be in a bit of a shopping mode, trying to get the rest of the party geared up. Mr. JRPG is on the Lamia Black Cat chest in Castle Eblan, while Sardin is in everyone's favorite encounter of this seed.
It's definitely your favorite encounter of the seed once you see the key item awaiting.
Very much so. But yeah, we'll see how Plumeria is able to handle these guards, but, this is all that's between him and being the first one on the scoreboard today.
Indeed, one of the interesting points that I see when the Alt Gauntlet comes into play is ability to clear through it fast. And Saradin's looking to clear it a lot faster than Plumeria Knight. Quack Kid is online, Twin Caster going off for full damage. Saradin's getting through this gauntlet a fair amount quicker than Plumeria was able to.
Yeah, coming in with, a full-fledged group of characters with, honestly much higher levels than Plumeria Knight attempted it, really shows the difference and just that sort of scaling power that, you get from a JRPG.
Meanwhile, Plumeria Knight is through that Baron Guard's fight, gets the pitfall. Interesting enough, we talked about it earlier. Plumeria Knight does not have the magma key, so
Yep.
this is his chosen route to get underground.
Yeah, and with it being an objective, I actually really like this play. It clears the objective. He felt comfortable coming down here and taking it. Got through very quickly in the grand scheme of things, and is going to be all set up to start carving his way through the underground. CS Radical is our first runner to launch the big whale.
Yeah, this becomes a pretty exciting play for CS Radical because again, we're still looking for those last few objective key items. Everything else is kind of settled out and equalized. There's plenty of checks up there, even though K Moon is not on. You got the hairdryer's chest and you got the last arm chest, and we've seen in several races now where like those checks, seemingly out of the way. You don't get a lot of times darkness crystals go mode. They don't come into play that often. But when they do, oh boy.
Oh yeah. Not to mention that, if you've still got an hourglass that you didn't throw at, say, a Castle Eblan chest, that can lock down the hairdryers enough for you to get, those experience points. And, they might be generic moon enemies, but they're still moon enemies.
Yeah, I'll definitely give up some seconds in Eblan Castle to have a free hourglass to do just that. Especially if the lunar dice holds a character that you want. 9 times out of 10, you'll set up a slingshot with that sequence, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, looks like CS Radical launched the whale not to go to the moon, but because the Elder stopped him on the way to the shops.
Oh well, that's just rude. You're trying to go pick up something important for your dive down the hook route. He's like, hey, please, let's go to the moon. Like, no, I'm not trying to go that direction. I'm trying to go the opposite direction.
But plot.
This is a randomizer. We don't care about plot.
Yeah, fair. Looks like CS Radical is finally going to take a peek down here into the Cave Eblan shops, see all the good stuff. We'll see what happens as he goes. Again, we're starting to hit those power levels where doing the full clear down here like Plumeria did probably isn't the worst idea.
No, not at all. And Plumeria about to check the same arch objectives. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes them right now. Mostly because I want to say he got a moon. Yes, he does. He has a moon belt. So that's gonna set things up to be pretty interesting. And I like this play here. This is the cover strat vessel setup. You leave everybody else at 1 HP from the Prec down, and you just blink vessel and hope for the best.
Yep. Strapped the Avenger back on the cane. Cecil's come up, going to throw a Cure 3 pot. And once we get a few swings on the Octomammoth, the gimmick of the fight is Octomammoth is going to start slowing down and down and down. And, well, once you survive the opening onslaught, get Octomammoth down to, 5 arms, the fight becomes relatively free.
Yeah, about the time you trigger that second change that's happening right now, you're pretty much in the clear because somebody's going to get a shot to heal up or cast another blink. Yeah, so Vessel's blinked again and throwing one more Cure 3. Yeah, this is in the clear. And Edge and Kane are now both berserk.
Yeah. And swinging for, 1,500 to 2K a pop.
Yeah, the Assura spot's fast. When you're lumping this spot in with other in-game spots, the HP is not as high. It's just depending on can you overcome that initial burst of speed and stabilize the fight, and then grind out the little bit of HP that's there.
Mhm. Yeah. Really, really well executed on Plumeria Knight's side. Sardin taking on the Quad Mad Ogre chest, as Mr. JRPG is also making his way into Upper Babel.
Yeah,
So we've got, like, most of our runners at this point kind of converging on doing the hook route in various forms.
yeah, I think we've already converged and kind of done our overworld clear. Now you're going to see, okay, we're all underground, and we're probably going to make those underground checks. Depending on how our runners' palums are faring, and if they have warp, we could see either a dwarf castle play, or a sylph cave play, or a tower play even.
Yeah. No tower keys across the board yet, but there are 5 trapped boxes in there. Well, 4 trapped boxes in the boss. 5 checks total. Though, I personally am a little surprised that we didn't see any of our runners dip up to the moon. But I guess that might be a bit more of a risky play at this stage of the game.
I think it depends on how you feel about, if you know anything about your opponent and how you may feel relative to the race itself. I don't feel like anything has happened to make either CF Radical or Mr. JRPG feel behind. It's just kind of going through. It's kind of going through the checks at their pace. I really don't think any of the Forerunners really have had much of a reason to feel behind. Maybe Saradin, I think, bouncing off that Kinatsu earlier. But other than that, yeah. And if you're doing that, it's a lot of people really they really route against that time it takes to traverse in the big wheel. And so you're not really going to see a moon play unless somebody's really wanting to bank on hair dryers or last arm. Again, it could come down to a character play. Like, okay, I've hit a lot of dupes. I'm really still looking for power. I like lunar dice into hair dryers if I'm gonna hopefully grab a character and maybe do a slingshot. But yeah, other than that, there's too much underground. Yeah, I don't see a runner going to the moon at this point, especially with all of them doing the hook objective.
Yeah. But it will be interesting to see whether or not that holds for the rest of the seed. There are still 2 objectives out of the 6 that our runners need to do, 2 of which they could leave on the table, that are up on the moon. So it's entirely possible that that big whale launch is the closest we get to going up there. It's also entirely possible that we'll see our runners be going up and taking on those last 2 moon spots. Really going to depend on how a lot of these underground checks pay off.
Right, we have Plumeria Knight taking on the Baigen. And as Baigen tends to do in this spot, he is punching. Cecil's blinked.
I believe that's the moon veil.
No, I'm seeing the blink back and forth. Cecil is blinked, so we're not seeing the Moonveil strat here. I don't hate it with Plumeria Knight feels very comfortable with cover strats, has 2 other melee berserkers. And then so you could really hold that for something at the Bahamut or Masamune if you need to. Xenocat saying the blink isn't getting used up. Meanwhile, Saradin has launched the Falcon, has the objective down.
And on the other side of the screen, we have both CS Radical and Mr. JRPG in the guards fight at the same time, though CS Radical is a little bit ahead in terms of getting the fight started a bit early.
Yep, and Sheridan appears to be hot on Flameria Knight's heels, heading down to the Fame March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're feeling confident in your ability to handle these two bosses, you know, I do not hate this play. Though, again, one of the things to pay attention to with this is, oh, we're going for boxes.
Yeah, if Sheridan has a hourglass free, could be making a play for that warrior's chest.
Mm-hmm. That is a cute hat for Plumeria.
Yeah, where was that when we were trying to take those Baron guards on?
Right? Yeah, it looks like Sardin isn't even worried about the hourglass, just going and hoping the warriors don't punch Palom long enough to drop a quake.
Yeah, I like the plan. If you've got a Palom online, or you have a Rydia online with an AoE summon, your party is really favored for these trap chests, and I'm definitely a fan of going for that play.
Yeah, that's, you know, what was that, 21.5 K experience. A spoon, which, you know, does shave 10,000 hit points off one of the rough bosses that are coming up.
Yeah, if one of our objective spots has that CPU, the spoon is fantastic for that.
Mm-hmm. Heck, I can see that getting used on the Baigen here just to make that fight a little less Baigen-y.
Yeah, Baigen-y is definitely a free enterprise adjective. Flameria Knight doesn't look to be interested in the Sylph Cave chest, more interested in setting up the double Sheila check. Which, again, you're mostly one key item from Go mode. I know we need 2 forge key items, but we're still mostly one key item from Go mode. Yeah. This is where you check your freebies.
Right. Did we see another move mail somewhere? Because the only one I really remember is the one from Sheila here.
I think there was one. I think the Mad Ogre chest had one. And
Got it. So yeah, Plumeria coming up here, getting a refund on that Moonveil from earlier. As CS Radical is boarding the Falcon with Mr. JRPG a screen behind, the two of them very hot on each other's heels.
Yeah, that's going to make for an exciting race, depending on if the two of them diverge after they launch the Falcon. Because they're pretty much in the same spot. CS Radical's already dove underground and scouted up the Fame Mark, so already has that pan, but other than that, yeah, they're pretty much locked up.
Yeah. On the other hand, we here in the booth have seen that the pan does not give any progression. It gives useful tools, to be sure. But if Mr. JRPG winds up not doing the pan check at all, that could be a little bit of time that he can use to catch back up or pull ahead.
Yeah, and this is where runners vary in this flag set. You've got some runners that they'll just do the pan check and go check out Sheila. A lot of runners like trying to route the Sylph chest in with the pan fetch quest. So it will be interesting to see what our runners do with it.
Oh, this could be huge. Did you see who is dancing behind the walls of the Dwarf Castle for Plumeria?
I am about to. That's a bonus round.
Yeah, so Dwarf Castle just moved from 2 bosses for 2 key item chests because we have access to warp, to a 3rd key item check And with Plumeria Knight, again, being only one item away from go mode here, with 3 objectives on the board, this could be huge. This check right here could be the difference maker.
Indeed, I am a huge fan of Dwarf Castle in this black set, if I have Dwarf available.
Yeah. Like, as long as you have the power to take on the Dancing Doll spot, you know, it's a character check, which, for the entire pool of runners, does not mean anything at this point. I cannot imagine a world where any of these runners are changing their party composition.
Yeah, not at this point. Demus is already down for Primary Knight. Meanwhile, Theroden is heading down and gonna take on the Baigan. So, yeah, Theroden just staying a few steps behind Plumeria Knight.
We find our clone of Palom, which merges together. I don't actually understand how that works. Maybe it was just a ghost.
You said you played Final Fantasy 14. Didn't you see the part where you can merge souls or something like that? Never mind. That's gonna tread the board. Time stuff.
But yeah, Plague goes down to exactly 1 holy swing from the Holy Sword. Holy moly! Let's see how paid Plumeria gets right now. Well, and CS Radical to boot. Both of them finishing these fights within seconds of each other.
Yeah, G Warp Flag sets always kind of make me just like, okay, creepy Golbez hand, hurry up. Like, I'm dying to see what the payoff is here. Theroden making a Lower Babel play while we're at it here.
I don't hate it. Lower Babel does, again, even without the tower key, have 5 checks in it. So it is a argument for density over anything else. Luca was holding a quiver of arrows on her neck as a necklace. We find the Adamant Rock.
Now Plumeria Knight is definitely 1 key item from Go.
Yep. Any one of 3. CS Radical, of course, has the exact same effective key item loadout. And as such, is also 1 key item away from go mode.
Theroden just pulled a pink tail from the first alert chest, so not quite the tail we're looking for.
Unfortunate, but has found another alert chest already.
We'll be more excited about pink tails in about 4 weeks.
Right? Oh god, I am watching so many screens right now. Technically a key item. Technically counts you towards your 10. Otherwise, well, you know, it looks pretty.
Yeah, Plumeria Knight right behind Theroden. This is gonna get exciting.
Yeah, like, Dwarf Castle had the Adamant Rock, which means that if the Legend Sword is somewhere here in the tower, that means Dwarf Castle was worth it. If a different key item is here in the tower, suddenly the math changes on whether or not Dwarf Castle was actually worth anything today.
Yep. Unfortunately, even though they're in lockstep right now, Plumeria Knight being up both of those Fame Arch bosses, especially with both of them doing the same underground checks, is not really playing out in Theroden's favor here. So we may need to see a cheeky moon play from Theroden at this point.
Yeah, like, so much of this is going, like, Plumeria Knight is very clearly, of the 4 runners, the closest to being done with the King-Queen fights already done. Mr. JRPG is working on getting those fights and getting the second objective on the leaderboard. but I do not believe Saradin or CS Radical have attempted either of those fights yet.
Yeah, Saradin went down. I think maybe attempted the Baigan fight, but quickly noped out.
Mm-hmm. But Saradin is going to give us our first look at who's here up on the top of the tower. Oh me, oh my, Odin.
Yeah, the former King of Baron got a little tired guarding that musty old throne in the basement and has decided to come to a shiny new tower.
He had a realization that now he can go underground.
Yay.
But I do believe Saradin is packing a Thunderclaw in the Yong, as we see that 3100 damage come out from one punch. So as long as we don't see the Zantetsuken too soon, this is probably doable. And if... I forget how hard that attack hits here.
I don't think it hits very hard at the top of the tower. This is I think this is one of those spots where it doesn't really hit that hard, but still, Young doesn't get to shine often on this black set, but when he does, oh boy.
Yeah, no. There's a reason people talk about the Thunderclaw being Young's best weapon. Well, that's a key item.
Yeah, Odin also deciding he wants a different place to rule, and he's taking up a new hobby.
Yeah. I mean, we all had to, pass the time during the pandemic. I understand.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Whether you're making bread or you're learning to play the harp. It's good. It's good to learn a new skill.
Yeah, but we shouldn't harp on it too much. I'll see myself out.
I wish I had something snappy to kind of also build on the jokes and on the pun, but no, you got me. I just lost it.
Plumeria Knight is starting up the Odin fight. Mr. JRPG has Octomammoth down to 2 legs, as Saradin is walking the rest of the way out of the tower, and CS Radical is starting the Odin fight. It's really been exciting to see that even with the divergence, we're still seeing 2 and 3 runners doing the same stuff at the same time throughout this entire race.
Thank you, RPG Mel. Nice of us to string that together. Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad it struck a chord with you. At this point, if I'm one of these runners and I get a crystal stored from a check, I'm disappointed that... because I can't even throw it at someone. Like, an Excalibur at least counts as a dart.
Yeah, I definitely like the pocket Excals when I'm dueling at the moon. Okay, yeah, Twitch chat is really working hard to kind of drum up some more music puns. Yeah, it's going pretty well. Speaking of drumming things up, we've kind of gone in circles through Dwarf Castle and Lower Babel now. I've got to tell you, it's looking more and more like, we're gonna have to see a cheeky Silk dive, or maybe checking some of the darkness gated trap checks. I like where Xenocat's going. Pain behind the Twin Harp.
Look, here's my personal opinion, my personal take. Cecil, great hair, but it started to get a little messy. Doing all this fighting and all these checks. We should go give Cecil a salon day, really wash that hair out and dry it off. Come on, baby, show me the hair dryers.
Exactly. Xenocat also making a good point. Plumeria Knight reset out of the harp and the pink tail in Lower Babel. So that That could be interesting.
Yeah. As Plumeria looks to be running out that Baron key. Well, doing the Baron in check first for what we know to be the Magma key.
Yep. You got to be thinking. Our runners are doing a few things after Dwarf. Don't forget that. Don't forget the Town of Mist. Don't forget Rydia's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, CS Radical taking the less beaten path on Sylph Cave right now. I think we're going to see some of the trap chest checks here.
Oh, this could be exciting. With 7 unique boxes down here in Sylph Cave, that's 7 different opportunities for CS Radical to get himself into go mode. And if it's here, well, the odds are...
We now know what Plumeria Knight is thinking. Yay, I can get underground now.
But yeah, on the one hand, if you're CS Radical, you're really, really hoping you find one of the go mode items here, and your odds are good of it. On the other hand, it's entirely possible that there's only like 1 or 2 of the 3 remaining items that will put someone in go mode down here and in Sylph Cave, but the other 1 or 2 is somewhere else on the map. Just because, frankly, at this point, they could be anywhere.
Yep. And Saradin just paid a visit to Rydia's mom, and the only reward we got there is, yay, we can fight Zeromus now.
Look, it's a pretty rock. Like, honestly, I think we take that and we give it back to Luca so she can actually have an actual goddamn necklace.
Yeah, because, I mean, who wears a key around their neck? I don't.
I mean, I've seen some really cute, like, little key charms for necklaces, Kingdom Hearts themed and otherwise. But
yeah, Kingdom Hearts theme for sure.
Like you have ones that have, like the cheesy key to my heart saying on them. Like there's a ton of interesting ways you can make a decorative key into jewelry. I'm not sure how well a actual key as a necklace would work if you needed to actually work as a key. But enough talk about that. We've got Plumeria checking hair dryers. We've got CS Radical down in Sylph Cave. But most importantly of all, we've got Saradin giving you all back home the sweet, sweet dulcet tones of DJ Spoony B.
Yes, it's what all of the Free Enterprise viewers come here to see. Dark Elf's cacophony of me attack you into DJ Spoony B saves the day.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like we're gonna see a butt to kick.
No. I mean, yeah. So if we don't have the butt, then that just increases the value and appreciation of the music.
Mamma mia.
Indeed. And how about that key item check?
Into go mode at harp. Oh, that is spicy.
That is
Um,
incredibly spicy considering Saradin's opponent reset out of the key item gating that check.
Yep. So, Plumeria Knight is going around and cleaning up objective spots. Still is not in go mode based on his loadout right now.
Nope, and CS Radical about to take the second trip through Silk Cave Draft Chest still hasn't found a go mode item yet.
Yes. The Sylphs are known for their mischievous ways and apparently their own legal department as well, from what I've heard.
Look, we're not going to get into the fact that Golbez has a company policy that we don't enter into unnecessary agreements with the Fae.
That's fair. But Bomb is down. That is 4 objectives on the board for Plumeria. Has 1 more that he has access to right now. Still missing a key item for go mode. And it's not like that last objective he has access to is a fast one at this time.
No, but I gotta say I don't hate the sequence that Plumeria Knight may be setting up here. Take care of those objectives. You're set up with 5 out of 6. Then you look back to the giant and hopefully just cross your fingers that your go mode is in last arm chest.
Yeah. And at this point, we know if it is there, it is either the Sand Ruby or the Rat Tail. And the odds of it being one of those are increasing with every passing moment that CS Radical does not pull one out of a Sylph Cave box.
CS Radical did find the package, so that's a key item spot that's out of the Sylph pool. So
Yeah. I do believe that like 3 or 4 of the boxes are guaranteed to be in the pool down here. But I would have to refresh myself on how the algorithm for key items in this game works exactly. I know there's some idiosyncrasies to it. Either way, we've got a few more boxes left to go for CS Radical. I think he's down to like 1 or 2 boxes in general down here in Sylph Cave.
Yep, about to wrap it up with the and one of the ones in the fairy hut itself is trapped.
Mm-hmm. A nice use of those starter kit mute bells, by the way.
Yeah, definitely good that the trap kit comes with those. Otherwise, yeah, the ghost encounters can be quite painful.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be an interesting race. We have Saradin in go mode, but Plumeria Knight is way ahead on objectives. So yeah, this is still going to be an interesting race, depending on if this route for Plumeria Knight pans out or not.
Yeah, like the question here is Saradin is in, like you said, Saradin's in go mode. It is not a question of can he finish the seed at this time? It's a matter of how fast can he kill these last couple of bosses in order to finish the seed. Versus Plumeria, who still needs to kill Dark Elf, sure. But the real question for him is, okay, How soon can I open the final box I need to get myself into go mode? We here in the booth know that, if you go back, you grab the harp again, you've run that out, you get into go mode. But there's still 2 other key items floating around somewhere. And they did not seem to be in Sylph Cave today. So Last Arm?
Last Arm, I think, has got to be it, unless there's something else that our runners haven't chased yet. I believe, yeah, we've seen what's behind the Baron key.
Have we? Has someone done that? Our lovely restreamer Xenocat seems to be implying otherwise.
Okay, we have not seen Liberate Baron Castle.
Yeah, so those are our 2 spots, and of course, given that the last 2 key items, given that there's a tower key floating around, one of the 2 could be a tower key, locking the other one. There are options for how the seed can pan out at this point.
Yeah, so Last Arm definitely still not a given.
That said, Plumeria Knight has finished the moon fights, is 1 objective away, not from go mode, but from being done.
Yeah, and you got to think wrapping up on the moon, unless there is a very specific reason why Plumeria wants to go to Baron next, I think the Last Arm is in the route here.
Yeah, like, I could see that. I could see him. The other option I could see for him is going for straight back all the way down to Sylph Cave for the density play. Obviously, we know here that doesn't pay off, but we'll see what the choice is.
Yep, giant it is.
As Mr. JRPG finishes up with Dwarf.
So yeah, I think if Last Arm hits, Plumeria Knight's in the driver's seat.
I don't think Last Arm can whiff outside of being exactly the tower key leading to one of the 2. But even then, if you pull that, you run it out.
Oh yeah, you definitely chase a chain, but Saradin's still got to walk down, kill the Dark Elf, go back, and take on the bike.
Yeah. So the question is, well, here's the Last Arm. Which key item is here? Because it has to be something.
Is it Tower Key or is it a Rat Tail?
I mean, it could just be the Ruby. We still have Baron Castle, which could be, one leading to the other. Random question. But why is the Last Arm called the Last Arm when it's clearly an eyeball?
You got me. Is it the last weapon before? And that's it. That's the Rat Tail.
Yep. Plumeria Knight is going to momentarily clean this one up.
Yep. Rat Tail, just a very quick turn in. Unfortunately for Saradin, bouncing off that Baigen is just going to hurt.
Yeah. Well played for both of them. But Plumeria taking it slow, not going for the magma key, but instead just following the hook route underground paid off because he was able to turn all that XP he needed to do the hook route into clearing the Fey March in the first pass, into finishing out the rest of the seed.
And there's the handoff, and there's the congratulations. Plumeria Knight has finished. Get your GGs out in chat.
Mm-hmm. And that is an official time of 1:27:06. As Saradin finishes up down here in the core of the moon, making the trek back down to Earth for the final objective.
And with that, we are joined in the booth by Plumeria Knight. Plumeria Knight, GG's on what was definitely an interesting seed.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, so I was, blown away. Was doing the hook route as opposed to continuing to dig for the magma key just something you decided to do beforehand, or was it one of those things that just happened to be the way the key items fell?
Yeah, I mean, getting the hook before magma, it meant two things. One was that one of the other checks was magma, so that was significantly less likely to be something important at that point. Mostly because I felt like I could get through whatever was on the hook route, so I just kind of said, we got two key items checks in the trap chests, and we got an objective on the hook route. So I think we can just tackle it and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Plumeria, again, GG's great run. One thing that struck me as interesting, walk me through the calculus that's kind of going on when you make the decision to reset out of the twin harp at the top of the tower. What are you thinking in terms of your path to victory at that point?
Well, I have two terminal objectives. I have to find the Legend Sword or the Sand Ruby. And once I picked up the harp, there was only Tower or Rat left. And Tower can only have one of those. And so Rat could have the other, but it meant that harp was not ever going to be strictly required. And so the 2 minutes to walk down, the 2 minutes to do Cave Magnus, and then however long that fight takes, I just figured it wasn't worth. There were more opportunistic places to check. I felt there was a risk, of course, like Rat into Legend or something behind the harp, for example. And then if Sand Ruby is just in Sylph Cave, it's probably not a time save.
No, but
Yeah.
in this case, it paid off, because that's about looking to be the difference. Because, right now on our end, we're seeing Saradin take on that Vigan, and so when you're adding up the time to do the twin harp check, that's about where he is. So, so it ended up paying off.
Yeah, the twin harp.
Yeah, I don't know. I also faded Baron. I don't know if he did that as well.
You were not the only one to fade Baron, but we've been able to determine by logic rather than literally anyone checking Baron that it must have been exactly the tower key.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's got to be a chain of Baron, Tower, Ruby then at that point. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was watching Plumeria's spoiler run out and showed the Sand Ruby at the Super Cannon spot, so.
That's amazing. If anyone checks that, they have a really easy seed on their hand.
But yeah, this was a really interesting one. How did you feel about, like, the way that your character checks panned out?
Yeah, I don't know. Starting with Tella felt pretty good. You can get quick loot that way, and the shops are very generous for Porum. And then Palom kind of just fell from the sky there, which kind of made Porum a little less valuable, but, she still needs to be there to cast Twin, so. But eventually she outpaced the Twin damage, so. It was kind of an interesting progression from, like, early game to mid game to late game as to which was the most effective path through every fight.
Mm-hmm. And as we were talking, Sardin has finished up with an official time of 1:32:17. So only about a 5-minute difference between the two of you.
Yeah, that's a pretty close race for these flags.
Mm-hmm.
It's really close.
Yeah.
I definitely did not feel ahead at all.
Yeah, how do you feel about these flags in general, just with the way that, only money in boxes completely changes a lot of the early routing, especially?
Yeah, but they're so interesting in that, you basically have 3 items for go mode. Sometimes it's just darkness, but sometimes it's, you can find any one of these 3 items and you're in go mode. And that makes it really, it makes it more likely that you can employ different strategies and maybe, do something that you're more comfortable with. So like, if you don't really feel comfortable taking on, Leviathan or Cave Bahamut, you can just keep searching through the trap chests and get more powerful and, kind of just take it a little bit maybe slower, but safer. And then you can also, if you play the other way, you can go a little looser. You can take a little more risks on that you can get through the bosses without the levels. So it's interesting.
So, any other last-minute thoughts?
No, GG's to everybody. GG to Saradin. It was a close race. And, yeah, looking forward to seeing how these play out. I need to set aside some time and watch some of these races because they're pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Are these your first 2 runs for your team, or has your third member already completed theirs?
Our third member completed theirs. Let's see. That was Frankie Bones on Tuesday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday evening. So, yeah, I think. I don't know if we can spoil the result. It's been a few days. So. But I think that means that we have at least 2 wins. So.
Scala is saying we can.
Oh, good. I'm glad I waited for Scala to tell me.
So yeah, sounds like you won the week. So congratulations to you and your team.
Yeah, it feels good. Team will be happy, and we can hopefully build on this next week.
Yeah, which team are you up against?
I do not know. Sorry.
No worries. I, for one, am excited to find out once the pairings go up, but we can worry about that later.
Sounds good. Maybe I'll find it and put it in chat.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Thanks for the restream, everyone. I'll let you get other interviews in if you need to do that, and take care, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Flammarian Knight. GG's, and looking forward to watching you race the rest of the tournament.
In the meantime, we have Mr. JRPG going where no runner has gone before. Down the Barren Basement. Going to get that last check that we have not seen play out on stream yet. but that we know, but via a combination of the spoiler log and mathematics, is going to eventually lead to the Sand Ruby.
Indeed. Meanwhile, we have Sheridan, our second place runner. Sheridan, GG's. The good route through, just fell a little bit short tonight. Talk to us about some of those tough fights. What do you feel was your biggest struggle trying to put this run together this season?
So I think the main mistake was going up ordeals too early. I was just like, I've got 2 Stardust runs, I'm fine, except that I didn't have anything for Porum, so even if I had gotten through that Kinatsu fight, I probably don't win the fight in the mirror room. Is actually going to find some stuff for Porum in order to do that. So that's probably my biggest toughness.
Yep, and towards the end, I think the big difference maker we saw on our end is Flameria Knight managed to hit the Rat Tail with the last arm chest while you took the Twin Harp to Cave Magnus and got the Legend Sword. Yeah, kind of walk us through that routing towards the late game, because from our end, like all 4 runners kind of converged going down that hook route and then kind of spreading out on the underground text. What was your strategy going into that part of the mid game?
Yeah, for the Twin Harp itself, I figured that was something that a lot of people don't tend to do, so I was hoping to get lucky and spike something there that might give me an easier way through than some other people found. Last arm is kind of out of the way, so I wasn't really considering that one at that point. When Twin Harp hit, it's like, okay, we're in go mode, just gonna actually do everything now.
Yeah, like, the last 3 key items that everyone were looking for were either running out that Twin Harp, running out the Baron key into the Tower key into the Sand Ruby, or spiking exactly the Rat Tail from the last arm chest.
Mm-hmm.
So Sheridan, what is your favorite thing about this flag set thus far?
I've been amused by the quantity of crystal swords I've been seeing. That was kind of amusing. Just S-Wild definitely shakes things up. Being able to just find pretty much anything you're looking for in terms of gear. Usually I am fairly light on shopping, and this definitely changes what you need to do about that.
Yeah, I gotcha. There's definitely a lot of fun things about this flag set. I think the admin team did a fantastic job kind of shaking things up for us this first 4 weeks. So you ran a great race. Unfortunately, Flameria Knight was just a little faster, and this kind of puts your team at 0-1 going into next week. What is your kind of overall game plan here to kind of pick things back up, and what do you think your game plan is going to be as far as team to kind of pick things up in week 2?
Well, personally, I'm sitting out week 2 because we do have that rotating one, but I am definitely going to get in some additional practice seeds before my next run.
Yeah. Trust me when I say I took this week off, and I've never been happier about sitting back and watching, just taking in this flag set, because, like you said, it is so different in just kind of how it shakes out from more traditional free enterprise flags.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen K-Trap anywhere other than mystery and slapdash things.
Yeah, so any shout-outs you want to make at this point?
Just thanks to the Restream team and the admins for putting on the show. It's always fun to do these. Watch the run backs.
Do you know which team you're up against next week?
I skimmed the schedule when it came out, but I haven't looked at it since then, so I am not sure.
Yeah, well, either way, good luck to Well, I'd say to you and the rest of your team, but you're sitting out, so good
Yeah.
luck to them, I guess. Enjoy
Yeah.
your break. I don't know how this works. Social manners are weird.
Yes, Aridin. Yeah, thanks for putting the race on. You know, it couldn't do it without our fantastic runners. Definitely looking forward to seeing you continue to race in this tournament. You definitely put on a good show for us today. GG.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Meanwhile, while we've talked to Plenary Knight and Saradin, Mr. JRPG has gotten the Sand Ruby from that tower key and is now heading back down to the Fey March to clear the objectives out. So this is going to be an interesting race. We've got CS Radical just heading down to the Brit Bear and Trash Can, going to find that tower key. CS is ahead of Mr. JRPG on objectives.
Yeah,
So it depends on the speed of the fights here.
Yeah, from the looks of it, Mr. JRPG has all 4 of the hard boss fights left to go. Unless Mr. JRPG's been up to the moon while we've been talking with people, because neither Orb 1 or 2 are lit. So that's a minimum of two extremely difficult fights.
Yeah, so it looks like CS Radical is just going to have to kind of clear the super cannon and go wake the character up in the bed, and that will do it.
Yeah, unless something really weird happens, I believe this puts it in the bag for CS Radical.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, while we're here, we were talking about shoutouts on our interviews. Let's give a shout out to our trackers, Fiery Blizzard and Nuke Tree. I can speak from experience. The tracking community races, tracking in a 4-racer layout is a whole different ball game. So, yeah, thanks very much to our trackers, Fiery Blizzard, Nuke Tree. Thank you, Xenocat, for putting on our restream. And of course my co-commentator Leggy Starstream. Go give all these people a follow and show them some love.
And while you're at it, make sure you drop a follow for the ever lovely and wonderful Lighty Sky, who has been putting up with my nonsense for the past nearly 2 hours.
Oh, I wouldn't quite call it nonsense.
I would. I personally enjoy a good bout of nonsense, and also free enterprise. Now, okay, maybe it's nonsense and puns, but still.
Yeah, but music puns are fun. I mean, yeah, you did spend a lot of the seat tooting your own horn with music puns, but it's all fun. It's fantastic. That's what I like about this community.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
Honestly, not that long. I don't have the brain to let something sit that. If I tried to sit on something that long, it would have just floated away as soon as somebody did a key item check. Like, oh wait, somebody found the rat tail. Oh wait, there went that other thought 5 minutes ago.
You know what? Fair. But now we're seeing CS Radical landing the airship outside of Kaipo, going to go cure. We're going to finally figure out who's in that bed. Because I remember we saw something blue, and yeah, okay, that was an edge.
I was correct. It was an edge.
Yeah, it was a lighter blue. But yeah, that's going to do it for CS Radical. Just waiting for the confirmation text to appear on screen, and that's an official time of 1:46:22.
Get your GGs out for CS Radical. Meanwhile, Mr. JRPG having to go another run at that Baigen fight. Baigen is having none of his sass at this point.
Yeah. Baigen, for being like a weird early mid-game boss, is a nasty, nasty fight in the wrong spot.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where a high physical attack will give you some trouble because it can punch 3 times as opposed to just 1.
Well, And then the other half of the battle is, well, you can get it down to one punch, but then those arms just grow back.
Indeed, they do. But we have CS Radical in the booth, our winner of the top half of the board here. GG's, and good job putting that seed together. That was definitely an interesting seed.
I cannot tell you guys enough how happy I am that there's a 10-minute delay, because I would have been so much more animated and emotional if it was live. Oh, I needed that 10 minutes to take a breath. Good lord, that seed.
That was a wild one.
I have never been more angry in a live race that I've actually been. Well, restream doesn't even matter. I've never been more angry just from spending so much time just looking for one more piece of go mode and just constantly not hitting it. Going through all of Sylph Cave and struggling to because my curatives were just horrible. Finally getting out of there, going and just doing Fey March, and then realizing midway during the fights, oh no, I never checked Rydia's mom yet. Rushing over there, that doesn't hit. And now my brain is going, don't tell me they're all buried in lunar trap chests. I'm not doing that. And I'm glad I was going away from it. Where were the other two?
Well, the good news is that because K-Moon is off, the only box you need to worry about on the moon is the hairdryer chest.
Then I'm very glad I didn't consider that.
Yeah, which was a whammy. One of the items was down through the Baron's sewer, in that trash can. Got you the tower key for the sand ruby.
Yeah, I imagine that means that's all that's left. It would have been Harp and then the giant trap.
Exactly. So basically, once y'all got underground, it was just a mad dash to see who would do any one of those three checks first.
I was 50-50 on doing Last Arm first, because I'm thinking, okay, I can probably breeze through that pretty quick, but I also didn't want to sit through the cutscene the entire time, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna just go for Baron and see what happens. As soon as I hit the tower key, I go, nope, we're committing, it doesn't matter now, we're going. And again, without me forgetting that, lunar traps don't actually mean anything, that doesn't really help. I guess that would have been really nice to remember for next time, but hey, there's always a next time, and at least it still worked out.
Yeah. But my question for you is, how do you feel about the early game? Because with this particular flag set, the early game is actually one of the more interesting twists from quote-unquote standard for enterprise play that we've seen in a tournament to date. So I'm just always curious about from other runners, hearing how they feel about it, what their general strategies are going through it.
I mean, with K-Trap especially, it really does open up the field very quickly. I do like the fact that it gives players like me who are a little more dartboardy in nature a fighting chance, because you can take a couple of random guesses and it might pay off. Also, I do a little bit of extra shopping that might not work depending on how much time it takes, but to be able to find a heroine robe and an Artemis bow really quick, suddenly things change around. Now I'm not worried about my party for a little while. I like it a lot. It's definitely one of those things, though, that based on how I play, it can also shoot me in the foot really quick if I spend a little bit too much time loot gobbling, which is very, very normal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to jump in and ask one of the things that I've been kind of interested in watching the runners is in the mid game. You all kind of converged on the hook route around about the same time. It's not exactly in lockstep, but pretty close to each other. When you hit that, when you get underground, you've got some options. What was your thought process for assessing your underground options there?
I mean, it really depends on how my equipment's looking. Like, if I got easy ways to get through the alerts, I'll always go to Lower Babel first, because it's just 4 really easy to deal with trap chests. Obviously, Sylph Cave I went to as a last resort because I hate going in there. I hate every fight that's in there because well, it's apart from the centipedes, but they're all lengthy. They can deal a bunch of status effects that just waste your time. So I try my best to lean towards anything major key item wise. Dwarf Castle, I was waiting very patiently for warp before I made that call. So that kind of changed that up a little bit. I can't even remember when I got rid of the Tella, so I may have had warp earlier than that, but either way. But yeah, I try to clear as much of the main checks first, and then immediately it's Tower of Babel. Those 4 chests usually end up bringing me either a ton of money or at least some other form of direction. I don't think in this case it did, including the top of tower, but everything's fleeting by me at this point.
No, so top of tower actually had the heart, which led to the Legend Sword. So that was one of the 3 paths to victory.
You think I'd know better with this being on stream? I should have gone there immediately. That should be the golden rule, but nope, not this time.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see just like once everyone gets underground, Plumeria Knight completely foregoing the Magma Key, interestingly enough.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me with some of our better runners just because they know they can handle that in the right situations, whereas my pink puff brain goes, absolutely not. We are going to Magma Key and doing some levels first. I am not taking that hook right unless I'm forced to. Now, granted, it's an objective, so technically I'm forced to, but not right away. So,
but also, like, getting those extra levels, getting that slightly better gear meant that those Baron guards were a lot less nasty for you than they were for Plumeria.
Well, that's kind of a give or take, right? You know, if you can get through it quicker and it's one less thing to do, then sure, it works out in the end. And obviously, if this wasn't a K-Force Magma, and we're talking like any sort of other flag set, then yeah, that can definitely pay off for the runners that can run it quicker. But in my case, if you're going to give me the option to go between Hook or Magma, and you're giving me both right off the bat, I'm taking Magma, thank you very much.
Yeah. But yeah, this was actually a really interesting run. I'm honestly gonna have to watch it back just to pay attention to all the little nuances of all the decisions everyone made.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna want to check it out too, just to see everybody else's routing, to see how differently some people were taking certain spots. And again, being relatively rusty, like how people were dealing with certain boss fights as well, to kind of give myself a better idea of what I can optimize to make it a little bit better. But either way, like, I can't complain. This is my first tournament win, so I'm more just on, like, I don't care how it's done. It was done. That's the only thing that matters to me right now.
Very cool. GG and congratulations on your first tournament win, then. That always feels good.
Absolutely. I think I've gotten unless you guys have anything else for me, I will let you guys go and finish off what's going on here.
So just one thing we'll send you away with. So, again, you came away with your first tournament win. Congratulations. What are you and your team gonna do to prepare for week 2?
Probably listen to the middle on repeat over and over again, and then maybe do a little bit of planning. But I'm not really sure. I'm not the leader. I gotta go ask the man in charge what's going on.
Sounds good. Well, GG's, and definitely looking forward to seeing you race the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody here in the booth. Y'all have a good rest of the night and enjoy all the runs going forward.
All right, and that was CS Radical, our winner of the top race. Mr. JRPG is not too far behind. I think just finished off the Mom Bomb. The only remaining objective is to go down and take care of that Dark Elf at the Massa spot, which with a Crystal Sword Cecil should not be a problem.
Yep. Just a matter of cleaning up the rest of these fights. Or fight, I believe. Yeah, probably fight.
Yeah, I believe he's just down to this Massa at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Just left the Mom Bomb. The Sand Ruby has been turned in. The Fey March has been cleared.
And of course, we have the Falcon.
Interesting. Mr. JRPG actually kept his Tella rather than taking the Queen. Um, that's one of the character comp things I've found interesting about this lead is that even though it kind of put Warp coming a little later, our most of our runners opted to get rid of the Tella in favor of 3 melee fighters, and that's not that's kind of this is kind of the first seed where I've actually seen that strategy. So it's definitely paid off for our other 3 runners, but yeah, it's not one I would have thought of right off the bat because yeah, I'm thinking that G Warp the whole time.
Yeah, and like once you know you've got enough experience that you're sure Palom is going to be able to cover the Warpcaster, I can totally understand getting rid of the Tella because as you're starting to make the transition from early to mid to late game, the value of just having a melee fighter to Berserk for several thousand damage a swing goes up and up and up as you get closer and closer to being like, oh god, I have to go clear the Masamune altar.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite things about this flag set is just to how the dynamics of the objective pool plus the O-win game plus the unique take on Sea Hero where we don't have the cursed ring, so we don't have our standard tried and true method of utility manipulation. Just it's been fun seeing how all the different runners tackle these challenges, especially combined with kind of the ranking system and how we've matched up the different runners among the teams. It's definitely made the races very fun to watch and very interesting to watch play out because yeah, we ended up with pretty much everybody converging towards like the mid game, but late game there were one of 3 ways to win, and depending on where you were and what you were doing, all of them perfectly valid and can win you the race.
Yeah, not to mention that if the key item loadout is even slightly different, suddenly this race goes completely differently for at least half the runners. Just because, of the order that people were doing checks and the fact that the required checks were so buried and out of the way to get into go mode. You see, like if that Sand Ruby had been at Dwarf Castle, this suddenly becomes a extremely different race.
Oh, absolutely. Dwarf Castle playing into your go mode, that's yeah, jet seats can be a little scary because then you have to solve the problem where are my levels coming from, because
right,
you can't go grind D machines, you can't go get eggs. But that dragon elf is not long for this world. Mr. JRPG completing the last objective fight, getting that last quiver of Artemis arrows to mount on the wall, and congratulations, 6 objectives complete with a time of about 2 hours and 55 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like the final official time is going to be 2 hours, 1 minute, and 10 seconds. We'll see if he's going to be joining us momentarily for an interview.
While we wait for Mr. JRPG to come in. Never
speaking
mind.
Of.
Speak and he shall appear. Mr. JRPG, GG's to you. That was not a trivial feat to get through. Well done on the completion.
Thank you very much. Well, this was my very first tourney match in a rando, so there are some things I could have probably done a little better, but hey, at least I got it done.
Yeah, you finished. You honestly, if I were brand new to this and I got a seed like this, good odds I would have thrown in the towel. So, seriously, congratulations on finishing your first tournament race.
Thank you very much.
So your first tournament race. What's your mindset coming into, this first match on a restream stage like this?
Like, to be honest, and I apologize for my team in this, that's why I was just a little reluctant to even sign up. It's like, I'm not exactly expecting to, win my matches or anything, because I don't live and eat and breathe free enterprises like a lot of other players are. I'm just thinking in the mindset, hey, maybe I'm the weakest player in the entire league, but I want to just, experience it. I want to have my fun with it, just see how it is, because I play the randomizer here and there and I like it a lot.
Yeah, so it is worth noting that you are by no means the only new player to Free Enterprise or Free Enterprise tournaments in this tournament. There's a lot of new people floating around, which I think is really exciting. And there's also a lot of people who are on the rustier side who are floating around. So do not sell yourself short.
Hey.
If this seed gets structured like one of 3 or 4 or a few dozen different ways, there's a good shot that you take this game off your opponent.
Yeah, I just ultimately got tripped up by the key item hunt.
Yeah, no. Those last couple of key items for Go mode were in what I would definitely consider to be some really nasty places. One of them was, locked away in the one chest on the giant. One of them was behind the harp, and one of them was behind Baron Key. Once everyone got on underground, because outside of Plumerian Knight, who did the hook route earlier because he completely faded the magma key, the remaining 3 of you all did the hook route at the same time.
I see.
And then it was just a mad dash to see who could pull together the last pieces of Go mode first.
Yeah, and I got tripped up during the King Bigan fight there. He's in a scary position with the king. It's like, wow. I always underestimate how much damage the king and queens do.
Yeah, and let's face it, Bigan is one of those fights where if you're sitting down and you're playing, Final Fantasy IV casually, you're like, oh, Bigan, he does some weird stuff, but he's not that scary, right?
Yeah, no.
Right? So yeah, you had some rough bosses, you had some, key items that were in tricky locations, and you pushed through, and you persevered. You did great.
Thank you very much. It's like, after I noped out a bike, and it's like, I was looking, it's like, do I have enough key items and stuff afterwards? I went to Sylph Cave to, grind a little bit. It's like, I was watching some of the random races I've seen during, the other matches earlier on the week and stuff. It's like, some of them just really pushed through in other, lower levels, and I'm like, yeah, no, safety strats. And hopefully I get a key item while, hunting down one part of Sylph Cave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as someone who's new to Free Enterprise, and this is a question I've been asking, people both new and old to this game, how do you feel about how the early game feels and how this pattern of routing plays out? Because for a lot of veteran players, the wild shops plus money in chests is very different from more usual styles of play.
Yeah, it's like, that's one of my weaknesses when it comes to, not just this, but some of the other randoms and stuff, because I always feel like I have a bit of a slow start because I'm a little bit thorough, I'm a little bit cautious, so I did actually check less shops than usual. I use sometimes just with this seed, I just tend to, just check around the shops, gather up information, but given my party and such, both consistent mages found the Stardust rather early and stuff, and some arrows, it's like I just decided to just push through the key item checks. But still, I was wondering, it's like there's some things I wish I kind of probably routed a little earlier. So, like, for example, when I did the Crystal, it's like I could have done Earth Crystal, then Baron stuff instead of, Baron, then just realized, wait, I could just do Tower of Zod. I feel strong enough.
Yeah,
That sort of thing.
A lot of that will come with time and practice. That's built, that is the sort of thing you build up as you play more seeds, that runner's intuition.
Yeah.
So that will come with time. But
Yeah.
you've got some really strong fundamentals that you are working with. I'm going to keep my eye on you as you go forward.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't expect too much, because one of my thing is I play a lot of games, like lots and lots of games. It's hard to kind of be diligent in one. So that's why I'm just thinking of myself as a semi-casual. But hey, here I am. Gonna do some more practices, gonna do some more seats here and there, and hopefully do a sub 2 at least once.
I think with a nicer seed, that's definitely within your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'll be playing next week, so hopefully so.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand your perspective here, where it's there's so many cool randos to play, and Free Enterprise is one of them. What a time to be alive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, definitely, Leggy Starscream is spot on. Just keep up your game. Play the game as you like to play it. I know you can watch. It's easy to watch some runners and kind of think, okay, well, this is how I need to play to be able to succeed, and that can kind of send you into a place where you're not really enjoying the game as much. Just keep playing to your strengths, and when you're ready to go faster, then there's parts of the game that are going to feel more annoying. It's like, okay, no, I don't want to do that Baron. That takes too long, and I'm stronger than that. And that will come more naturally than just thinking, oh, well, this is what the tier 1 runners are doing, I should do it. And it'll just come. Like I said, it's Free Enterprise is a fantastic game, and I've been enjoying it for 3 years, and that's definitely how I've gotten the most enjoyment out of it, is if I can step back and just say, okay, well, how do I like playing Free Enterprise, and just go with it.
And it's kind of funny you said about Baron. It's like, under this normal circumstances, I would do Baron earlier because I like to be kind of thorough, but it's like, I feel like, okay, I had a good setup, I got a pretty good team going, let's just do some of the other things. There's some of the other things that are faster. That bite me this time of all times.
Yeah, and that's always going to be one of the things with, any rando, as I'm sure you're familiar,
Yeah.
Some days rando gonna rando.
Yep, I also play a lot of Link to the Past randomizer regularly. It's like, there's always those tricky spots. For instance, like, experience from that.
What do you mean boots were on pedestal?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not talk about that kind of evil in here.
I will speak this evil into the world. We had a tough Baigan fight today, okay?
At least the moon bosses were pretty nice.
For sure. But do you have any last minute thoughts you want to share before we send this party on elsewhere?
No, I felt like I said what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for the interview.
Of course. And best of luck to you next week and going forward in the tournament.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, that about wraps us up. We are going to send y'all over to Free Enterprise 2 for another twin cast. It is Team We Wear Shorts and Winter versus What's the Big Ordeals. Those runners are Tybalt versus Wreck-It 89 and Perfect Badger versus Valgren. As always, do not spoil the results of this race for the others on Free Enterprise 2. They may want to watch this one back later, so please keep the spoilers to a minimum so we can keep the
If you spoil this race, Corum will cry.
Yeah, please don't make the forum cry. But with that, we will send you all to Free Enterprise 2. That is it. Thank you, Leggy Starscream. Thank you, Xenocat. Thank you, Fiery Blizzard and Noob 3. We'll see y'all next time.